going to be a video discussing the combat balance changes and what my thoughts are on them. My thoughts on them is they've smashed a walnut with a sledgehammer. The changes are too drastic, and the problem is it's gonna have a massive negative impact on the game, to be honest with you. I mean, I agree on a few points. Let me just get these out of the way first of all. That repeat missions needed addressing. I think this is a step that they've taken to address those, and it's certainly gonna address those without a doubt. They also needed to address the neo dodge, as it's now being called, in outposts. This in theory should address that, but in all honesty, I'm still seeing way more dodges and failed stuns going on in outposts than I am in the regular missions or other areas of the game. So I think something's still off there, to be honest with you. Now, just a few personal thoughts. I subscribe to the theory nothing should be 100% successful. Nothing should be able to get to the point where you can buff your character up so you have a 100% success rate of anything. And that goes for both us, and that goes for the enemies as well. So for example, we had 100% interrupt rate. That should not be 100%. It should be, even if it's 95%, you should always have a chance of failure. And that's the word, chance of failure. Same with the enemies as well. The enemies shouldn't automatically be a body shot if they're +4 or above. That's nonsense as well. We should always have a chance of hitting them regularly, even again if it's only a minuscule 5% chance. It should be there. Nothing should be absolute, and that's one thing I do agree with. What I don't agree with is the amount that they've lowered dodge and interrupt, which is going to be the focus of this video, most namely interrupt. Now, just because I'm crazy and I know better to do, I recorded over the last few days my results from going into Overwatch on every mission I've done. Now, I imagine I've made a few errors along the way and I've not recorded one or two, because I've done 1,113 Overwatch attempts, and of those I'm running at a rate of 34.5%. I've rounded it up. 34.5% have successfully interrupted. So we're running at about a third success rate, just over a third success rate. So that means 1 in 3 shots actually interrupts the enemy now. Now, this was based across scavenger missions run on normal, where the enemies were level 19 and above. It was run on scavenger missions where I played on hard mode, where the enemies were at default level 22. And they were also run on some challenge missions as well, where the enemies obviously were at the low end of the challenge schedule at the moment. So the enemies ranged from level 3 to I think I'm up to about level 9s at the moment. So they're significantly lower. So I would imagine if we are going at level, equal level enemies, then it's going to be, I thought the stats will probably be a lot less actually, but currently of 1,113 attacks I'm running at 34.5% success rate, which is pretty shocking, to be honest with you, where before we had 100% success rate. Now, the main fundamental change they've done is that when you body shot an enemy, you don't get an interrupt. Body shots seem to be happening a hell of a lot, and obviously with enemies being +4 and above, you automatically get a body shot, therefore that enemy is impossible to interrupt. Now, the problem that you have is that, I'm just going to load an outpost in actually. The problem that you have is that a lot of maps have enemies within 1 turn of your characters. So if you don't take them out, you're going to get a beatdown. Now the only way to mitigate that damage was to use interrupt. Now that option's been really taken away, because if you're only having a 1 in 3 success rate, to get 3 successful interrupts on that first turn is going to be very tricky to do. Very, very tricky to do. So what's going to probably happen is on the first turn on a lot of maps, you're just going to get a complete beatdown by the walkers, which means bye bye to the first star, because you are going to go into an injured state. Now I've seen developers say that the other stats or other traits have been buffed to help out with that. I just noticed the level of these survivors. I'm going to get a beat down on this one, but never mind. But yeah, they've said that other stats have been buffed to help out with that. And to be honest with you, there's no trait in the game currently I can see that's going to stop you getting a complete beatdown on that first turn when enemies are very close to one another. Now this could be a good example actually. Let's just move my characters. Let's just move Corey to the left here. Okay, let's move him up there. Right, yeah, here we go. Here we go. Look how many enemies are in close proximity to me here. So we've got the fatty, we've got the regular walker up there, we've got the armoured walker and the other armoured walker. They're all within reach of my survivors. I can only interrupt possibly 3 of those if I'm extremely lucky. But now I've only got a 1 in 3 chance of doing that. That could have been even worse, because they could have stacked the area around my spawn point, which people do regularly in outposts with their special walkers. And that's just going to lead to complete decimation. At best, 2 of them are going to take damage, maybe. I'm going to get stunned, I'm going to lose probably character for a turn or so. And it's just not good, because there's no way to mitigate that damage. No other trait is going to mitigate that damage. Even if I've got iron skin, even if I've got dodge, like that. Just some of my characters are going to take a severe beatdown. And that's just going to literally end it. And obviously the higher enemy is, that's going to be even more drastic. Now for me, the way to solve this problem is that they need 2 systems. The most successful, in my opinion, PvP systems for like MMOs, for example, is a good example, have 2 systems running alongside one another. You enter a PvP area, it loads in a separate statistics page for your abilities, and you go back to a PvE area and it loads back in the PvE statistics page, because what works for one area of the game doesn't work for the other. There's literally no way you can shoehorn a single system to work for all aspects of the game. There's just no way on earth you can do it. It's just not possible. One change you make in one area is detrimental to the other area, and that's what's happened on this occasion. The changes to interrupt, changes to dodge in particular, have been changed to reduce the problem with outposts, has had a massive negative impact on the PvE part of the game. The change to interrupt, again, because the maps haven't been rebalanced from what I've seen so far, again, has a massive negative impact on PvE. Because you simply cannot have, I mean, a map springs to mind immediately is, I think it's called Fish in a Barrel. It's the one that's kind of like a vertical level, and you have your characters at the top of the screen. There's tons of armoured walkers in there mixed with regular walkers, and literally at the end of the first turn you will have at least maybe 3-4 walkers around you if you don't stop them reaching the adjacent squares. Now you could do that with interrupt. Currently pre 2.2 you can't do that now. The chances you're going to get all 3 interrupts to fire for you is going to be very, very slim. So you're going to take a beat down on that one, a very big beat down. Another map on the same set of levels, I think it is, Archives I think it's called. Again, loads of armoured walkers, and looking at this one fat walker in there. that's going to be a massive problem of level as well, because they're even closer to you. There's the armored walkers stacked upon stack, and they're literally going to be on you in turn 1 if you don't interrupt them or kill them. And then the second wave is just going to come in as well. You're literally going to lose that first star on your first turn on the majority of occasions, which I think is just absolutely stupid, unless they have rebalanced these maps, which I don't think they have, because based on the evidence we've seen from this challenge and outposts and such, the maps are still exactly the same in regards to where you can place enemies and where enemies are going to be placed by the challenges. But yeah, they need two systems. They need two systems in place. They need one that activates when you're in a PvP area, and one that activates in a PvE area. Now, I've not a coder myself. I can't imagine there's any reason why they can't do this. It obviously means more work, but ultimately you end up with a better product, because like I say, one shoe doesn't fit all. You can't change one thing in one area of the game without it having an impact in the other game, and there's a lot of variations to think about. So why actually, that you may not think of, so why even run the risk of it? Just two separate systems, definitely the best way to go. I can't see it ever happening, but we can all hope, can't we? Another thing that you could do as well, which works thematically, is, again, it's a two system approach, but have a separate system for walkers and a separate system for humans, based on the reasoning that walkers are feral creatures. They have no interest in self-preservation. They do everything they possibly can to get you. They will walk through fire, throw themselves off a cliff, impale themselves on spikes, knives. They'll do anything to get to you. So by nature, they're going to be easier to hit, easier to dodge, because they're just, they're predictable, and you should have boosted stats against walkers. Again, you face a human enemy, they should be harder to hit, harder to dodge, harder to kill, because they're obviously interested in self-preservation. They want to survive. So that's another theory they could do. They could have a stat table for humans and a stat table for walkers. But even that would be better than we currently have. I just think they've just, again, to use that analogy, they've smashed a walnut with a sledgehammer. They've gone way too far on it, and it certainly does need addressing. The other aspect of it as well, which people are not happy with, and understandable, is if you spent money on the game. Everybody's built their, and me included, have built their survivors and weapons around interrupt. I spend a bit of money on the game. I'm not afraid to say that, but I don't spend a vast fortune. Maybe less than £15 a month I spend on the game, combination of boosters and gold every so often. But some people have spent an awful lot on the game, opening crates, buying gold, trying to get that perfect combination of traits, and now that's pretty much all gone out the window. Now it's pretty much worthless, and I think that's not a good thing to do, really. It's not a good way to please your customers. Like, you shell out the money, event a week later they actually change it. I mean, I'm a bit annoyed about last weekend's event, to be honest with you. Last weekend's event was 5-second equipment upgrades. We was all under the impression that update 2.2, whilst it was a council upgrade, currently our game at that time said that it would need 2 council upgrades for us to upgrade our workshop and our training ground, so we wasn't expecting a workshop and training ground buff there. So therefore, I, and probably a lot of other people, upgraded stuff that they probably wouldn't have necessarily upgraded normally. I upgraded weapons that I only chose to upgrade because I thought that the workshop and training ground upgrade was at least another council bump away. So 2 council bumps away, as it would have been at that time. So I wasted a lot of XP upgrading weapons, which I'm probably not now going to use, because I now need to restock with base level 20 weapons. So running that event, at that time was just very poor thinking on part of the developers. It's just that I just don't understand it at all. I mean, surely they could have told us there was going to be a workshop upgrade. They surely should have told us that. On the subject of that, now we've reached level 20 with survivors. They need to stop at that point, in my opinion. We don't need to go beyond level 20. They need to look at other avenues of upgrading survivors or increasing survivors' abilities, because otherwise, where does it end? You need an end game. If we keep having council bumps which keep raising our survivors to level 21, 25, 30, you know, what's the bloody XP going to be to level one of those guys up, and the actual time to wait? I mean, currently at the moment it's 1.1 million XP to go from 19 to 20 with nearly a 20 odd hour wait. What's level 30 going to be? It's going to be like something like 10 million XP with like a 5-day wait to upgrade one survivor if we carry along that route. And same with weapons as well. I think we need to stop at level 20, and same with weapons as well. We need to stop at level 20. There needs to be an end game, and there needs to be something to do in that end game. And I think that's what should be the focus going forward with the game there, because just throwing more and more levels on top of it all is just not the way to go, because otherwise you're never going to have an end game. There was one other thing I wanted to address as well. Something somebody asked in the forums. Oh yeah, it was one of my guildmates asked why they didn't put the survivor class tabs on the mission select screen, and I actually asked that question a few months ago, and one of the developers did actually address it. Apparently the buttons are there, they are invisible. Which is madness due to memory constraints. Apparently, I'm not a coder, so I'm presuming what they're telling me is correct there, but it still seems madness that they are there but actually not visible to us. What I'm talking about is when you go to let's go to any mission in particular, not bothered which. Right, so I want to swap Daryl out because he's injured. Now there's normally, when you're outside a mission, there's normally tabs at the top here for each of the classes. Now, they are still actually there, but they were, they were they're not there anymore. They were there but invisible pre 2.2, but they're not there anymore. Hold on a minute. No, I think they've removed them now. I don't seem to be able to activate them anymore. Oops, I've moved Jesus in there. Oh no, they are there. Yeah, look. Oh, I've lost it. They are still there, but they're invisible. You seem to have to now scroll past your heroes. And they're about, I'm on an iPad, bear in mind, so obviously everybody displays differently, but on my iPad it's about just ever so slightly above that exclamation mark on Travis's head that I'm pressing, and I switch there to scouts, and it's more problematic now. It was difficult to do before because they were invisible, but they are still there, just they're even harder to find now. Yeah, so I wouldn't bother, to be honest with you. Just I'd forget that there, but it is still possible by the looks of it. But not of any good way to do it. Anyway, that's my ramblings on the combat situation. Anyway, it's a bit disappointing really, because overall, if we go feature by feature, if we're doing a tally of good features versus bad features, then this is a fantastic update. And obviously we've not viewed the new challenge yet, and we've not viewed the new season 7 tiny missions yet as well, which could be absolutely amazing. But unfortunately, the things that are bad in this update are really, really bad and completely undo all the good things that this update has brought to the game, really, because they have just fundamentally changed the way the game is played, and it just moved the bar so far in a direction which makes it just madness. I've never seen a game that I can remember that I've played that have fundamentally changed the main gameplay mechanic that everybody, or the majority of people, have based their spending, their team creations, their time and effort in developing, and they've completely changed their ability by so much. I've never come across it before in my life, but fingers crossed they are listening to people on the forums. Suggest if you're not on the forums and are watching this video, whether you use Facebook, whether you use Twitter, whether you use the forums themselves or by any other method, or even if you contact NG directly in regards to it, I suggest that you express your opinions on this. If you don't like the changes, I suggest that you contact them. Do it obviously in a respectful way. Don't spew abuse at them, and because that's just not the way to go about it. Try and be constructive with it and try and explain to them what they've done is wrong and why it's wrong, and that they need to look into it again, because if you're not happy with it, they need to know. So end of the day, we're playing their game, we're funding them, we're buying gold, we're buying crates, we're buying you know what, you're buying boosters, we're spending real money on this game. And if you still want to play in the game, then we need to make his voice heard, but in a constructive way, to try and get them to change this. But for me, my opinion, 2 systems is always the best way to go when you've got a game that has PvP and PvE in, because you cannot make one system that fits all. It never ever works. You just, one change breaks something else in another area in the game. It always happens. I've seen it countless times, and I mean, what normally happens is they'll change something again to compensate for this maybe, but then that in turn will break something else, and then they'll go amend that, but then that will break something else. It's a never ending cycle. You need just 2 systems, because they are in fact 2 different areas of the game, 2 different complete styles, 2 different set of tactics needed for each one, and it just needs its own separate system, whether it be PvP and PvE have a separate system, or whether it's a system where you have one system running for humans, one system running for walkers. I don't know. I can't understand why there's any reason why they can't do that. Again, I'm not a coder. I'm sure if they watch this video, they may be able to tell me why it's not possible, but I just can't see why it isn't possible to do. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it anyway. I'm just rambling on now. So thanks for watching, guys. I don't know how long this video is weighed in, but if you have watched it all, thanks for your patience and thanks for sticking with the video there. And I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.